Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in our beautiful world today. I welcome you to this week's Q&A live session with the Duchêne method. The Duchêne method, very simply, is my proprietary system that talks about how to acknowledge, engage, and support one another in a mindful manner. And I do this in this type of environment, in a sacred circle of creation, where we come together to talk about all things mind-body alignment from a place of acknowledgement, of engaging with one another, and also as a means to support each other and others in our lives. So this week, we are moving into another topic surrounding fascia, our fascial system, how it works, and in particular, in relationship to muscle tension. And I wanted to offer you some information specifically in relationship to the neck, the shoulders, and the back. Because your fascial system, of course, as we know, we've talked about it quite a bit, is something that moves around the entire body. It is your biggest, or what I like to call your largest organ of communication in the body. And so today we're moving into deepening our understanding of how this fascial network actually can either support us or restrict us from full movement, from full emotional expression when it finds itself in a condition of tightness, tension, and stress. So good morning to all of you who are joining. Hello, Sophia and Pranjal. I'm delighted that you're here. Anybody else who is on and wants to say hi, please write something in the comments, say hello, join the conversation. So without any further ado, I want to jump into this topic of tension, from tension to tranquility, really understanding our fascia's role in muscle tension. And just to reiterate what we know about our fascial system, it is that it is a complex fascial network that is really an expression of connective tissue. So that's another word for fascia. It plays a pivotal role in also achieving mind-body alignment as it influences emotional states. And I'm going to get into all of these as we move through our session today. So there is an intricate relationship between your fascial system and tension regulation in your body. How does that work? We've also spoken about a few, maybe last week, or I've mentioned it in several of the classes, that your fascial system contains a very high density of sensory receptors. And these receptors relay information to the central nervous system, your CNS, that is in your brain, in the cranium, the central nervous system, as opposed to your peripheral nervous system, PNS, which is living more at the periphery, right? Very top of skin, underneath the skin. That's the peripheral nervous system moving through all of the peripheries of your body, as opposed to your central nervous system, which is the brain. So your sensory receptors, they relay information to your central nervous system about your physical condition and about muscle tension. Plus, your fascia, the fascial system, is an interconnectedness system. It is a system that connects all parts of you, that communicates throughout your entire body, which means that addressing fascial tension, when we address the tension in our bodies through the fascial system, it clearly has far-reaching effects on your posture, on your mobility, on your capacity to have ease or not in your body, as well as your range of motion and flexibility. All of these are important and integrated into understanding how the tension in your muscle, of course, is very much related to your fascial system. So the interconnectedness throughout your body contributes to the overall sense of tranquility and a sense of physical well-being. If your fascial system is well hydrated, if you are doing some very mindful somatic type of exercises, which a lot of them, to be honest, looks a lot like really slow integrated movement. Now, a lot of people think about fascial somatic exercises as yoga. And I'm not saying that yoga does not support somatic movement. Some of it does, but we should not look as yoga per se as a therapeutic somatic approach, because yoga is a different type of approach. Yoga is certainly in relationship to creating alignment through very specific exercises, physical exercises, as well as pranayama, which is your breathing. But it's not necessarily the same as somatic therapeutic movement. Somatic therapeutic movement is much more related to, for example, movement continuum. Movement continuum is a very specific way of moving from the inside out, and it is specifically designed to address your fascial system, which yoga is not specifically designed to affect your fascial system. It affects it inadvertently, of course, because you are moving, you are breathing through the postures, but it's not specifically created to address your fascial system. So movement continuum, you can actually search for it on YouTube, was developed and invented by Emily Conrad, an amazing woman who developed this really profound and deep way of moving from the deep inner spinal environment and creating reverberations that move from the center of your body outwards. So even though we might use that type of language in some sort of, in exercises, in fascial stretching as well, yoga is one of them. Movement continuum, I would say, is one of the most accurate and effective ways to move into somatic movement, which is a deep understanding of your fascial system. And the movements in continuum are very, very slow. And it's not so much about holding poses as opposed to moving in a very slow, mindful, very alert and intentional manner to move the deep inner fascial system of your body. So I want to encourage you to look that up on YouTube and get a sense of how powerful movement continuum is. So today, I want to address specifically 3 specific areas of your body, which is your neck, your shoulders, meaning the upper shoulder area, the trapezius muscles up here, the trapezius muscles, and your back. And the reason I'm addressing these as a group, it's because they all have something in common that I'm kind of isolating today, but like everywhere else in your body, your fascial system interconnects, communicates between your neck, your upper shoulders, and your back, of course. So this is what I like to call your fascial highway of information. So I'm going to share an image with you that, hey, good morning. More people have joined. Good morning, Sabi. Good morning, Anali. Wonderful to see you here this morning. So I want to share with you an image that is of your trapezius muscle, your upper back. And let me see if I can get it here. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up this image. Please take a moment to let the image come to you. Don't stare at it, but instead let it come to you. And what we're looking at here is specifically your trapezius muscles. Now, it says muscles because there are 3 distinctive parts to this very large muscle. So the base of the skull that is moving down toward the shoulders, that would be the first part of your trapezius muscles. Then from shoulder to shoulder, across the extremities, shoulder to shoulder, there's a thin or a narrower line of muscles. That would be your second set of trapezius muscles. And then finally, from the lower part of your shoulders all the way down to the tip of your thoracic spine, which is T12, that vertebra right at the bottom there, that is thoracic 12. And I wanted you to see this image with the red, because this is how intricately related this part of your body is. The trapezius muscles and is huge, and it has everything to do with you having lower back pain in relationship to your headache, or if you're someone who suffers from migraines. Understanding where this trapezius muscle stems from, where it attaches all the way down to the mid-back, in relationship to your lungs. Now, your lungs are deep inside of your body. The trapezius muscle is a thin outer layer. This is the most outward layer of muscle on your upper back, right underneath the skin, right underneath the fascial sheathings underneath your skin. And still, the distance between your lungs and your trapezius muscle is interconnected by your fascial highway. So this is important to know, because when it comes to experiencing pain, in your shoulders, in your upper shoulders, in your mid-back, all of these are interrelated by your fascial system. And this physical pain, right? The physical factors of pain, such as strain, you're having strain in your back, or you've lifted something that's too heavy. You might suffer from poor posture because you are sitting for too long throughout your day. Or, I do want to mention that the opposite of sitting too long is to move your body too much. So that's also an issue. If you are overusing your muscles, that will create strain in your body. Herniated discs, pinched nerves, all of these have an important connection between your mental well-being and the discomfort we feel in our necks, in our shoulders, and in our backs. So, as you might have guessed it, this connection, of course, is known, and in our work, related to mind-body connection. So keep the image of this beautiful, very thick, wide, very wide and large muscle that connects the base of your skull, which is related to your cranial health, if your cranial bones are in alignment or not. If there's a misalignment in your cranial bones, it will affect your trapezius muscle. It can incur some headaches, some destabilization in your balance, in your vestibular system that lives inside of your cranium. All kinds of conditions can occur if you have that muscle, right, the very top base of skull, if that's attached very tightly to your skull. If there's tension there, it can cause all types of problems in your cranium. It can affect the balance of your eardrums, your listening. You have heard of the condition vertigo. It can also affect vertigo. So the reason why we want to take the time to release the base of the skull in today's class is specifically because we want to release that specific attachment of the trapezius muscle to the skull. And then, of course, as you move down, you see how that beautiful moves down vertically, narrowly, then widens into reaching out to either shoulder. That is the area where so many of us hold a ton of tension. And I want to bring awareness to this area, because you can start to just release tension in your body simply by looking at the picture. Drop your shoulders, relax your shoulders. This will assist you in releasing tension in your upper back. And then, as you can see, moving from either side of the shoulder, it goes into a point all the way down to thoracic 12. That's the mid part of your back. It covers the entire mid back, the entire thoracic spine. So you can see how sometimes you're having shoulder pain, but it's really correlated to the bottom of your spine, right? To the bottom piece where your trapezius muscle connects to T12. So you may be experiencing problems in your upper shoulders or in your shoulders, but the actual problem is actually lower down into that back area. So I hope that this image is helpful to get you connected to how large and significant this muscle is and how much of the pain that you may be experiencing in parts of your bodies that you would never necessarily correlate to this muscle is indeed deeply correlated to this muscle. Your lungs, your breathing. I am working with a client right now who is having a really hard time with his breathing mechanism. He has an increased amount of phlegm in his body. And so that can very well be correlated actually to the stress and tension that he is experiencing in his upper back. Remember, your lungs are correlated to this architecture of the back body. Even though they're far within the body, there's a lot of interconnectedness of your fascial system that is connected to the inside of this beautiful trapezius muscle, and that moves straight through your body into your lungs, and indeed affecting a lot of other structures. So I hope that this image is helpful and that as I'm explaining it, you can slowly start to make the correlations between the outer and the inner, which we'll get into in a moment, is really about your mind-body connection. Sabi is asking a question. Does arthrosis in cervical can also have a negative impact to the rest of the body, such as headache or pain in the trapezius? 100%, Sabi. Arthrosis, any type of is in the body is related to inflammation. So if you think about it, the structure that I just showed you, right? So Nelson, bring back the image of the trapezius, please. So if you have inflammation in this muscle, now think about it. Right now, it's just beautifully laid out, and I'm showing you the attachments, where it connects to, how far it reaches, and how far down to your last thoracic vertebra, T12. So imagine, Sabi and everyone, if there is inflammation in this tissue. So arthrosis is the inflammation in your bone osteopathic system, your osteosystem. So if your bones, if the bones of your vertebra, your spine, in your shoulders, in your neck, if there's inflammation in any parts of those body, it will also affect this beautiful trapezius muscle. And when there's inflammation, tightness tends to occur. And you may have felt that, because if there's tightness, you have a harder time bending your fingers, articulating your fingers appropriately. Does that make sense, Sabi? I hope so. Okay, Nelson, we can remove the image for now. Thank you. So the reason why I want to really bring you into awareness with these three parts of the back today, your neck, your shoulders, and your back, all the way to T12, is because most of us carry a ton of stress in this area. And if you have inflammation in your body, it's going to show up in your back. If you are struggling with phlegm, if you have a lot of mucus in your chest, it will affect your trapezius muscle. Even though it's a thin layer on the outside of your body, don't forget your fascial system moves through the body, affecting inflammation, affecting any type of blood flow in your body. And so when we have inflammation in our body, the tendency is that there is less blood flow. Fluids have a harder time moving through your body. You're welcome, Sabi. I'm glad that was helpful. Okay, so back to your mind-body connection. Okay, so now we are starting to move a little bit further into how this relates. So just before we go into all of the intricacies of mind-body connection, I want to look at a few physical causes that occur in the neck, shoulders, and your back. So the first one I mentioned a moment ago was physical strain. Physical strain can be from you actually straining your neck, upper back, or lower back muscles, such as heavy lifting. If you're sleeping in awkward positions, I get that a lot in my practice. People come in and complain about, oh, I think I slept improperly and I have a crick in my neck. If you use your phone excessively, and if you kind of bring your head to your shoulder in this way, which is why you really want to get headsets. This is super important. I know most people have them now, but just as a gentle reminder. And if you're on the computer all day long and you're tending to sit where your head is protruding forward, that will lead to a ton of tension in your neck. So one of the things that you can do for this is to very simply bring your two fingers, index and major fingers, to your chin and just exercise slowly throughout the day, pressing the neck back, and you're kind of lengthening the back of your spine, right? And so you can let it protrude forward a little bit. You can even slouch, and then using your two fingers, slowly bring the neck back, lengthen your spine. And you can do this a few times, right? You're creating, actually this motion is creating hydration in your neck and in your fascial system. So this is a very simple way to get yourself back in alignment. And then you just shake it out and you come back to normal, to center. Okay, but all of these can have a significant amount, add a significant amount of strain to your neck, shoulders, and back. Of course, poor posture can also be part of this. So if you tend to slouch a whole lot, if you are or holding tension, will either have you slouching. You can lose balance by slouching forward, or for some people, how they correct slouching is they go back in the opposite position, which we don't want to do. What you want to think about, aside from this gentle alignment, you're just pressing the neck, the chin back a little bit. The other thing you want to think about is having a thread from the very top of your head and gently lengthening from the top of your head. We call this the sky hook. So imagine you have a little hook at the top of your head and you're gently lengthening from the top of your head. This will help you to get back in balance, as opposed to counter correcting, which brings your shoulders all the way back. Now, of course, causing a ton of stress in my back, but additionally causing stress in my chest. Anytime you cause stress in your chest by over pulling or by over slouching, you are affecting your ability to breathe effectively. You're affecting your airways, right? Because if you're slouching, everything is compressed. Your trachea, the esophagus muscle, even your tongue are huge muscles that have a huge imprint on how you are breathing. So if you're slouched here, you're constricting yourself. So you want to gently lengthen and align without overdoing, without over opening your heart. You want to keep yourself center. So one of those tricks is just to lengthen from the top of your head. The other thing that might happen if you are under consistent strain is to develop herniations in your discs, herniated discs. And specifically, I want you to think about it for a moment and to really visualize, what is a herniated disc? So a disc, to start off with, is a jelly-filled donut in your spine. So there's these little bouncy discs in your spine, and inside of them, they're kind of bouncy, they have jelly in them. So just imagine the jelly inside of a donut, and it's poking out through the outer layer. You know, when you squeeze the donut, the jelly tends to come out. Herniated discs is exactly that, is when a disc is compressed and then the jelly filled, right, the inside of the disc spews out. So it's starting to leak out. And that is actually what causes pain, because you don't have that bounceability in your disc any longer, because you're actually squeezing the juice out. And the juice that's inside of your disc is super important as a shock absorber. So before I was talking about if you're sitting for too long, or if you're slouching or extending, those are bad postural habits to have because they cause pain in your body. But equally, for my dancers on the call today, for those of you who are super physical, who lift very heavy weights, or who do a lot of street dance, break dance, a lot of ways that you contort your body over time may have a significant negative impact on your vertebra and on your discs. So think about that as you are exercising, because when we're younger, the tendency is that we can hang with that for quite a while. But as we get older, we start to develop conditions that are painful in our body. And, we're not necessarily joining the dots. And I want to invite you to start to think about that. How are you using your body on a daily basis so that you are actually helping it to refuel your fascial flows, that you are not straining your body in such a way where you could potentially injure any type of bone in your body, and especially in this case, your discs. So that's the herniated discs, everyone. And finally, also pinched nerves. If you are putting too much strain on your body, you're going to get pinched nerves. Anything that compresses, also arthritis also does this. So if you have inflammation in your body, there is less space for your body to actually flow, for things to flow and slide. Don't forget, apparently, what's commonly known and said is that we have 75% water, liquid in our bodies. I think we have closer to 85% liquid in our body. So if you have an obstruction in your stream, right? So if you're by the side of a river somewhere, or more of a stream, and let's say a beaver has created his or her house there, and that creates a dam, well, the water has trouble flowing. So imagine arthritis or constriction or tension in your body as that dam in your system. And therefore, the nutrients, the flow, the synovial fluid, blood, any of these liquids in your body will have a much harder time to move through your body. And those are the areas where you might develop a herniated disc, where you might develop the pinched nerve, because the flow is not occurring. Just want to do a check-in and see if this is making sense for everyone. If you have any questions or any comments. So we're talking about from tension to tranquility in your body, finding ways to flow more effectively in your body. And I'm using a very scientific, muscular, anatomical approach to now move you into this mind-body connection relationship. So the mind-body connection from here. Now, understanding this, understanding how your mind, your thoughts, your beliefs, and your body are interconnected is pivotal in comprehending the underlying causes of your neck, shoulder, and back pain, of what we're talking about today. So one concept that sheds light on this interconnectedness is called psychophysiological disorders. Psychophysiological disorders. And this disorder is also known as a mind-body disorder. And that's physical systems that are significantly influenced by psychological and emotional factors. Psychological and emotional factors. And in my newsletter from last week, I spoke to you, I mentioned something called TMS, which is tension myoneural syndrome. Tension myoneural syndrome. And that's a term developed by Dr. John Sarno. And he was he had a very big voice and had a huge influence on developing the study of mind-body connection and how it works together. Because according to TMS, to this condition, what happens is that suppressed emotions Suppressed emotions and unresolved psychological stress will manifest as physical pain. I'm going to repeat that. Any type of unresolved psychological stress and suppressed emotions will manifest as physical pain. Now, how does this work? So, from a anatomical physiological perspective, your brain will divert attention from the emotions by creating physical symptoms in your body. And that effectively takes the focus away from psychological stress. So the body, right, your brain diverts your attention from your emotional pain, from your psychological pain, and transports it, transcends it, transmits it into physical pain. So in the context of your neck, shoulder, or back pain, that means that unresolved stress and emotional issues are actually causing and exacerbating your discomfort. So this is exactly the type of work that I do in my practice, in my Heller work structural integration practice, is to process pain, unresolved emotion by addressing the body, by aligning the body, by opening up the fascial system through manual approach, helps us to release emotion and psychological pain and thoughts that we might not even have known was there. I cannot tell you how many times I hear my clients, they're on the table and I'm working on them and they're like, oh my God, Anne-Marie, I didn't even know that I had tension in this area. So this is the power of body work, of hands-on body work, right? And massage is great. It's not what I do, but massage is another way to assist you in releasing. I would say massage is more effective in releasing tension in the body, as Heller work structural integration actually assists you in opening up, in releasing your fascial system, because that's the specific intent of the work. And by releasing your fascial system, there is a therapeutic dialogue that is integrated in the work that also is a big part of how your body itself releases emotional stress, psychological stress. So I hope this is making sense, and I want to share another image with you. Thank you, Sebi, for acknowledging that. So I want to share an image now with you that will show you, where is it? Thank you, Nelson. Okay, so you might have to come up a little closer here. Can I make this a little bigger for you? All right, so here we go. We are now talking more about the mind-body connection and how stress and emotions show up as physical conditions in your body. So starting with your brain and nerves. So physical, emotional, unresolved emotional pain or psychological stress in your body will show up in your brain and nerves, creating headaches, feelings of despair, lack of energy, sadness, nervousness, anger, irritability, increased or decreased eating, trouble concentrating, memory problems, trouble sleeping, mental health problems. For example, we talked about this before, panic attacks, anxiety disorders, and depression. Last week's class was specifically on anxiety disorders and depression. In your skin, unresolved emotions and psychological stress will show up as acne and other potential skin problems. Your muscles and joints, you can get muscle aches and tension, especially in the neck, shoulders, and back. Increased risk of reduced bone density. And when you have an increased risk of reduced bone density, this is where inflammation can insert itself. So how do we assist your bone density is by doing body weight-bearing exercises, as well as lifting weights, not ridiculously heavy weights, but weights that will assist you in increasing your bone density. Unresolved emotional stress and psychological problems will show up in your heart, and it can look like a faster heartbeat, rise in blood pressure, increased risk of high cholesterol and heart attacks. Your stomach, unresolved emotional issues or psychological problems show up in your stomach as nausea, stomach pain, heartburn, and weight gain. It shows up in your pancreas, increased risk of diabetes. You see how important it is to be able to acknowledge what you're emotionally going through. And sometimes we don't even know that we're going through something emotional because it's suppressed. It's in our subconscious because we tend to be so busy with our lives. In your intestines, my friends, it will show up as diarrhea, constipation, and other digestive issues. Reproductive system, if you are under a lot of stress, unresolved emotions, for women will show up as irregular or more painful periods, reduced sexual desire. For men, you may experience impotence, lower sperm production, and reduced sexual desire as well. And finally, in this case, your immune system, of course, suffers from unprocessed emotions and psychological stress, lowered ability to fight or recover from illness. So maybe we can go back to my image, Nelson. Sabi is asking, thus, does communication, expression, not that one, Nelson, the lower one. Does communication, expression is essential to prevent unresolved and suppressed emotion that would manifest as physical pain? Yes, exactly my point. Thank you, Sabi. So when you are not expressing your concern, when you're not speaking honestly with your partner, your spouse, your child, your boss, your friend, if you're not expressing yourself fully, honestly, if you're holding back from saying something, that can cause physical pain in your body, also emotional and psychological pain. Which is why I have a course specifically related to the art of mindful communication, because learning how to express yourself in exchange and communication with others, that actually is an actual trigger to hydrate your fascial system. I'm going to repeat that. If you are able to communicate clearly, honestly, to talk about the real issues that are occurring in your life, to be able to express your emotions in a mindful manner, that in itself releases the fluid system in your body. It's a sense of relief, of release in your system, in your body. I know that you probably have had this experience in your life when you decided to come clean about something. Maybe you were holding on to a secret. Sometimes we have that in our families, or maybe a lot of the time, we have family secrets. Learning to be able to express yourself and to communicate clearly from a place of mindful awareness will assist you in decreasing tension in your body. Therefore, as we're focusing on today's class, helping you to release stress in your neck, in your upper shoulders, and in your back. So, how can we use this knowledge that I'm sharing with you today to alleviate and prevent neck, shoulder, and back pain? Well, as Sabi has clearly shared in our comments, communication, learning the art of mindful communication. So mindfulness techniques, stress management. And I've talked about this many times. The best way for you to deal with body pain is to integrate a daily ritual of gentle stretches, foam rolling, using balls to assist you in releasing tension in your back as you do some very conscious intentional, deep breathing. Another way that you can assist yourself to release pain in your body is to become more aware of your posture, and not your posture as in learning to stand up straight. It's more about postural flow, to be comfortable in your body. And how do we do this? Well, by actually moving more on a daily basis. If you get into the habit of getting on your foam roller every morning, or maybe in between clients, or certainly at the end of the day, this will help to hydrate your fascial system and regulate your nervous system. Of course, if you can, seek out, seek out a HelloWork structural integration practitioner in your area. Rolfing is also effective. I'm a HelloWork practitioner, so of course I promote HelloWork because it specifically addresses those unresolved emotions and psychological factors that are showing up in your body through a very gentle, effective, therapeutic dialogue. Because we want to learn to allow our body to speak its pain. It's not just happening in your mind, my friends. It's mostly happening in your body. So if you are feeling a lack of energy, if you're feeling affected by what's going on in the world today globally, it's so important for you to get into some sort of gentle, reflective practice, which involves some very slow, intentional stretching. Not stretching to create so that you can attain a split, right? Or that you can dynamically stretch your body to achieve a result. This is a different type of invitation. And you can find some of those routines on my YouTube channel. I have an 8-minute routine that I share with you. Very gentle movement, very gentle flows, as well as a foam rolling routine that I did for you. And you can find those on my YouTube channel. Start to integrate ways of speaking with yourself. So to Sabi's point about communication, begin to communicate with yourself in a gentler, more loving way. Share words of kindness with yourself. Share words of kindness with others so that you can actually perpetuate this essence, this energetic connection with others of positivity and optimism through the art of mindful communication. So, my friends, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you understand that we can go from tension to tranquility by continuing to explore how our fascial system works. And today in particular, with the areas of your neck, your shoulders, and your back. So if you have any questions for me, if you'd like to communicate with me, if you would like to invite some of your friends to join us on Mondays, please do so. Invite them to join us 11 a.m. every Monday. I am continuing with the fascial system for the month of October, so I would love to see you next week. Please look out for my newsletter. Please share my newsletter with your family, with your friends, anyone who might benefit from learning about mind-body alignment and how this very intricate system works together as really a harmonious orchestration of incredible musical instruments. This is really an ecosystem of perfection. We really have a system that is beyond anyone's knowledge because it's so intricate and complex. So I want to invite you to come back over and over again and to be with me in these classes. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. That helps me with the algorithms. Send my newsletter, extend my newsletter to your friends, and invite them to join us on our Facebook group page where we share our daily gratitudes together. Another way to move into the fascial flow, expressing our gratitudes. I have lots and lots of information out there for you. Please join us. Thank you so much for being here today. Heather, this was very informative and helpful. Thank you. I'm excited to learn more. Thank you so much, Heather, for being here. Appreciate your comment. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you, Nelson, too. Yes. Thank you, Nelson, who helps me with all the back-end stuff. Very grateful for him as well. My friends, have a wonderful day. I send you my love, and I hope to see you next week. Be well, take care of yourselves, and share loving, kind words with yourself and others. Until next week, bye for now.